warm welcome to our session on growth in mid-sized companies. How they take the path from a grown-up to a scale-up. Last entrepreneur here on the stage, he is an entrepreneur with a unique combination of having started, built and owned several mid-sized companies, successfully and turned around as well, about 30 plus SMEs in Europe, and has been engaged as a speaker by international business schools, a variety of associations, and some of the largest companies, as well as helped some of the Swedish unicorns out of Sweden. In the last 8 years, he has put all his energy and expertise into a new company called the Innovation 360 Group, which he is the founder, owner, and CEO, with a headquarter out of Sweden. It includes InnoSurvey, which is a leading methodology and global innovation database used to analyze and provide advice to companies, business leaders, and scientists around the world through a network of licensed practitioners. And they are active all over the world, for example, US, UK, Italy, Switzerland, Turkey, Brazil, Mexico, Denmark, Norway, Germany, Portugal, Dubai, and Qatar. His organization helps to inspire leaders to find new ways of thinking and doing, and ways to get on the top and stay on the top. Give a big hand to our last entrepreneur, Magnus Penker.
Thank you. Well, what kind of a presentation? It's fantastic being here, and I've enjoyed the conference so far. 2008, I decided to figure out what is the reason that some companies and organizations take off and other doesn't. So I started to collect data. And 8 years later, I have collected data together with the colleagues of mine from 62 countries in more than 1,000 companies. And we have done it by collecting data from employees, management teams, customer to the clients. And we'll figure out a few things, and it will be a cliffhanger. I will post that at the end of this speech. Before I do that, I would like to recap a few things and pick up from earlier today. If you think about developing an organization, normally you are in what I call the first horizon, and we heard about earlier here today as well. That is typically a year ahead. And if you're very professional, very efficient, you will deliver on that. However, you might not be able to plan for the future. We heard Alexander Osterwald talking about explorative and exploratory, right? In our data, we can clearly see that in the third horizon, many years ahead, company typically doesn't have any problems at all. It's fun for C-levels to be there. It's great, going all over the world, meet up with the crazy people, get all the insights, meet all the scientists, all the entrepreneurs. That's not the problem. Here and now is not the problem if you have a professional management team. The problem is actually in the middle, in the second horizon, where you get stuck because you don't know what to do next in maybe 2 years from now. And that is a huge challenge. It doesn't matter if it's a unicorn or it's grown up. I would say more or less everybody has this challenge. And if you don't, I think you should think and really go back home and think about it. It's very hard to judge what will be next. So you have to put bets on it. You have to work with hypotheses and try to figure out what will be next. And that also leads to another insight, which is pretty much in line with what you just said, that if you try to apply agile methods on something you don't know anything about, it will fail. It doesn't work that way. Agile methods is extremely powerful when you have a clear vision, you have a clear strategy, you know exactly what to do. Then it's very, very powerful. But when it's uncertainty, when you don't know what to do, it will most likely fail. And this is a very hard lesson. And I do understand it's a little bit provocative to post this in the here and now, but I think about it. Tell your team back home, guys, I would like you to do something amazing, something totally new. And they ask you probably, okay, what should it be? I don't know. That's not an easy task. So you have to organize for that. And what's interesting is when we posted these surveys to all of these 1,000 companies, trying to figure out why are you doing what you're doing, what are you doing, and how do you do it? Actually, what's interesting is that most companies do not figure out what they're really good at. They just do it, and then they might hire consultants, putting up a perfect strategy, and there's two problems with that. The first problem is that the same consultant will sell the same strategy twice, and then it will not work, because we live in a competitive world. So that's the first problem. But even if it do work, you have another problem, and that is that you need to have a strategy that are in line with your capability. And this is an issue. And in my point of view, it's easier to be world champion master in something that you're really good at than in something you're really bad at. Obvious. So take your strengths, build on that, and choose a strategy from that point of view, not the other way around. What's also interesting is that when you start to figure out how can you use your strengths in a clever way, can you build a strategy upon that, which is the other way around of doing things, more or less. What's also interesting is that I had a chat with Mr. Kotler just an hour ago, and he asked me, is there any correlation between profit and being innovative? I have to admit, I can't say that. I'm sorry. But what I can say based on data is that it's a very strong correlation, approximately 0.5, 0.55, pretty strong, between growth and being innovative. And that's not a surprise if you think about it, because profitability can come from a lot of sources. It could be, M&As, it could be luck, whatever. But growth, long-term growth, that is not done that way. No. So I would like to point out that it's important to build upon what you're really good at, try to figure that out, try to figure out people's perspective on that, and build upon it, align that with the strategy that you choose to go ahead with. What's also very interesting is that it's not enough just to being professional in the first horizon, being professional in the third horizon, being professional in the second horizon. It's also about allowing that. So I posted a blog post on Drucker Forum about this, and you can read it afterwards, where I actually did a correlation analysis between strategy, leadership, and capability for small companies and larger companies. And what is very clear is that large companies are normally very, very skilled in strategy, and they could be able to handle many strategies at the same time, being able to serve a global world. But normally, they do only apply one way of managing, and that discriminates normally innovation. Because what they normally apply is a management philosophy in the first horizon, which is pretty much performance management, and that will discriminate the second and third horizon. What's interesting is that small companies, statistically speaking, allow a lot of different kind of leadership. They are allowing, but they are lousy in strategy. If they even have a strategy, they have one strategy. So actually, basically, large corporations can learn from small startups being nurturing, allowing in leadership, and not have these huge programs where you form everybody in the same way. And small companies can actually learn from larger corporations that, well, you might need to be a little bit strategic, and you might be able to understand this, pretty big place, and you might be able to respond on different signals on the market. So the key lessons that I would like to share, and the key insights that I would like to share with you all, is that based on data, it's very important to align your capability with your strategy, but start with your capability, what you're really good at, and try to figure out the strategy, not the other way around. It will be very tricky. The second thing, you need to be able to work in parallel in the first, second, and third horizon, because that's about risk minimizing. And the third thing is accountability. So guys, when you go home, you need to be accountable for driving innovation. It's on your desk. And you need to take that role to be a champion in your organizations.
Okay, thank you, Magnus. And an applaud to our speakers here.